Good morning, y'all. Good morning. Good morning. Happy blessed Thursday, you guys. I pray that you guys are doing well on this morning. It feels like this week has just come and gone like with the snap of a finger. It is a beautiful day in Mississippi. It's been gloomy this week. It's been rainy this week. And so we got a little bit of sunshine today. And so, as always, welcome to another edition of Daily Manna. As you guys are coming in, whether you're here now or catching this thing on the replay, be sure that you tell God thank you and tell us one thing that you are grateful for. Today, I will say that I am grateful for the Lord's guidance. I'm so grateful that we're never really left to wonder life, and that honestly, all we got to do is just be willing to receive God's instruction. And so this morning has been a different kind of morning for me. It was a morning that I'll say that I did not expect. And so as you guys can see by the title, um, today's daily manna is, follow God's lead. I don't know who needs to hear that, but I believe that if God has you watching this video, no matter if it's today, if it's a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, then it is something that you need to hear. Follow God's lead. Also, as you guys are coming in, please be sure that y'all are hitting the thumbs up button. It don't cost anything for you to just smash that thumbs up button. But today was one of those days where this week, I'll start there. This week has been a week where I have been getting up super duper early, and I've been calling it giving God something to work with. What's up, myaniii? I've been in a space of really taking my health back serious and really just showing up and doing the hard stuff. A lot of times, it's not that we don't know what to do, but a lot of times is we're just unwilling to be uncomfortable and we're unwilling to do the hard stuff. And so this has been a week where I've been dedicating that area of my life to God. And so with that, I've been getting up at around 4:30 a.m. and I've been, spending time with God, doing my cardio and starting the day out with a bang and eating clean. And so this morning was one of those mornings where it was some hiccups. Yeah, this morning was a morning where I woke up. I've heard the alarm. I don't know if y'all have ever had a moment where you hear the alarm go off and it's like you think that you're getting up and you're like, okay, 5 more minutes, and you open your eyes and 5 minutes then turn into like 30 minutes. And so it was one of those moments where I heard the 4:30 alarm go off. I'm like, 5 more minutes, God. I open my eyes fully, and it's 5 a.m. And so it's kind of like the day started with like my schedule being pushed back. And if I can be honest, my mindset was still like, God, I still have time to do what I need to do. And the Lord began to convict me. I'm going somewhere with this. And God began to convict me, and I heard the Lord say, not this morning. And if I can be for real, like I was wrestling with God telling me not this morning, meaning not this morning, you're not going to do that cardio this morning, like, no. And a part of me felt like I don't want to make excuses. I don't want to sabotage. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. But as I was wrestling with it, the Holy Spirit whispered the word surrender. Yeah. I'm going somewhere with this. He whispered the word surrender. And in that moment of me hearing the word surrender, like I just surrendered and I said, okay, God, you don't want me to do it. I just listen. And the Lord began to deal with me about like my day and all the things that he knew I had to get done today. And so as I went throughout my morning and have been spending some time with God, the Lord began to deal with me about like surrenderance and how surrenderance is sometimes a thing that we unknowingly pick up and put back down. Like we can have good intentions with following God and obeying God, letting him lead in an area, but sometimes we get to a place in doing that where we become unbendable and we just stop listening to the guidance of the Lord or the Holy Spirit. And so he was showing me myself this morning and about how this morning I was so caught up in routine that I was almost unwilling to follow God's voice. And so my question to those of you guys that are listening in, whether you're here or on the replay, is are you still in surrenderance? For those of us that are on our journey of following God in whatever area it is, or even just in general, Are you in surrender? Are you still in surrenderance, or has surrenderance put you in a place where now you're unreceptive to the guidance of God? And so, he was leading me to like think about like other areas of my life where I've done that, where I start out following God, and then at some point it's almost like I turn a mute ear to the Lord's voice, where it's like I hear him, but it's going in one ear and out the other. And I'm just, I pray that I'm making sense and I'm just doing my own thing. And he showed me how those moments not only hindered me from receiving from him on a deeper level, but it always put me in a position where it felt like, man, I can't hear God's voice, or it felt like I'm confused or conflicted on what I hear God telling me to do. I want to say this because I feel like this is something that a lot of people deal with, getting to a place where it may start off as you following God, but then it gets to a point where it's like, okay, God, now I feel confused. The Lord told me this morning, he said, moderators, can y'all handle the people in these comments? He told me this morning, he said, confusion is a sign that you have exited out of a space of surrenderance, where you've entered into a space where you are just not willing to be led by me. I'm gonna say it again. Just block him or put him in timeout, myaniii. I'm gonna say it again. He said, when you get to a place where at first you're operating from a place where you're sure of what I'm saying, and then you start getting confused, it is a telltale sign that you are operating, or that you've stepped out of a place of surrenderance, and that your heart may indeed be hardened. And it really made me look at like my life in general, like, God, am I really being led by you? Or am I, or am I operating from a space where I am unbendable, where I refuse to let you use me? He used the example this morning of like churches that are void of the Holy Spirit, right? I feel like we've all been to those churches where they have their own agenda, and it may start off as being something that's led by God, but they make no room for God to alter their plans. They make no room for the Holy Spirit to invade the space. And so the Lord told me what happens when churches do that is, I'm going somewhere with this. What happens when churches do that, become unbendable, they become, I guess, unleadable by the Lord, is they slowly begin to die. The Lord told me, he says, do you not see that like every area that you've done that in, that has been an area where you slowly start to suffer, where, a church may see numbers decrease. They may have, other spirits begin, or demons begin to possess the place or the people in the place. And slowly it leads to the church's demise. He said, do you not know that the same thing is very prevalent in your life? When you get to a place where I can't lead you, where I can't teach, where he says, when you get to a place where I can't lead you or teach you, you also begin to slowly get to a place where the devil is able to influence you. Fear enters in, anxiety enters in, confusion sets in, depression may even start lingering. And you get to a place where your life reaches a stalemate, where you're not, how can I say it, Holy Spirit? Your life gets to a stalemate where it's like you're not moving forward and you're not going backwards. It's just the same thing on a repeat every single time. Am I making sense? And so that has kind of been like where my mindset has been in this moment. And he reminded me also of a time in my wilderness where I really struggled to like let God lead. And he told me, he said, child, do you remember when I told you in your wilderness that the moment you become like unleadable is the moment you become unteachable? And the moment you become unteachable is the moment where like your blessings, they are like capped off. And so in my wilderness, God worked to bring me to a place of surrenders. And I'm gonna say this, a lot of times we don't surrender to the voice of God, not because we don't understand what God is saying or we don't recognize his voice, but a lot of times we stop surrendering because we stop understanding, and we feel entitled for God to just tell us all the details of why has the plan changed. Whew. I'm gonna drink me some water. It's a little bit hot out here. Hey, Bo. I'm gonna say it again. A lot of times we step out of a place of surrenderance, not because we don't recognize God's voice, not because we can't hear what he's saying, but a lot of times we step out of a place of surrenderance because he's not giving us the understanding that we feel entitled to. A lot of times we unconsciously feel like God owes us an explanation as far as why his plans change. I remember like in my wilderness when he was training and developing my ear to hear him. And it sounds simple, but it's not really simple training your ear to hear God. It was, how can I say it, Lord? For lack of better words, it was a time where God would tell me, He would give me a set of instructions, whether it would be physically traveling to a place or doing a certain thing. And I had to just trust that I was hearing God, and also trust that if I was making the wrong move, that God would correct me, that He wouldn't let me continue down the path. And so by trial and error, I learned how to identify how the Lord dealt with me. However, there were moments where God would tell me to do a thing, and sometimes He would confirm that it was Him by what happened, or, I would just feel a peace or a knowing in my spirit that I had done the right thing. And then there were other moments where I had got it wrong, where it wasn't God. And if I can be for real, he would block it. He would confirm it that way. And so then there was the third category, which I don't feel a lot of people talk about, where after I had learned how God dealt with me, it trickled over into God would tell me a set of instructions, and sometimes He wouldn't confirm because He knew that I knew His voice. And I'm gonna just say it like this: a lot of times we expect constant confirmation, but once you get to a place where you know how God deals with you, do you really need confirmation, or are you just not in agreement with what He's telling you to do? Whew, that's heavy, Lord. That's heavy. I'm gonna say it again. Like, once we a lot of times we expect constant confirmation from God. But once we get to a point where you know His voice, like, do you really like need that confirmation, or are you just not receptive, right? And so, like, I went through that phase where I expected constant confirmation even after I knew His voice. And so sometimes in that, God would say, do this, and right when I do that thing, He would say, go back and do the other thing. And I used to tell God, like, God, I'm confused, because why you lead me to go this direction and then tell me to go right back to where I came from? It felt like I was wasting energy, like I was wasting time. And you know what God told me? The Lord said, it's not that you're going crazy, but what I'm teaching you to do is how to surrender. And when you really like break down what surrenderance really is, surrenderance is your ability or your willingness to follow God without any reserve. Y'all, this dog, I gotta take a picture of him because it's the cutest thing. Oh, he moved. Yeah, I'm gonna say it again. Like, when we really break down what surrenderance is, a lot of people say that they're surrendered, but you're not surrendered. You're not surrendered because you expect God to run all the details by you. You expect for God to give you all these explanations. And a lot of times our following of Him becomes something that's conditional. God, I'll do it as long as you tell me what's next. I'll do it as long as you tell me why. I'll do it as long as you explain yourself to me. And so that's not real surrenderance. And so this morning was a prime example of God reminded me that in order to be used by Him, in order to like tap into the level of blessings, or even to matriculate in life to the degree that we desire to enter into, we have to be in a place where we are willing to be led without reserve, without conditions. And so in that season of my life, it wasn't about being crazy. It was about God. It wasn't even about my blessing. And I'm gonna say this: sometimes where we get it wrong is we expect the instructions of God to lead us to a blessing. Whew, that's heavy. So this is heavy this morning. I'm gonna say it again. Sometimes where we go wrong at is we expect, if I do what God is telling me to do, it is going to lead me to boom, 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 boom. And so when it doesn't, and God changes the instructions, we oftentimes look at God feeling confused, feeling misled. And it's not that we're confused or misled. It's just He didn't meet our expectations. So I went through that phase in that season where God would say, do this, and then go back and do this, and then do this, and then do that. And it felt like He was ping-ponging me all over the place. But one day I sat in His presence, and He said, I'm teaching you how to surrender, how to follow me without reserve, how to follow me without, without conditions. And so that's really what true surrenderance is. And I feel like in this season of many of our lives, that in the areas where we have had conditions, that God is teaching us all how to follow Him, and really what true surrenderance really is. And so again, the question for you guys to ponder on is, are you in surrenderance, or are you are you not? Right? Are you still even in a place of surrenderance and follow God, Are you still open to God changing the plan or even changing the route in itself? And if you feel like, T, I haven't really been receptive to God changing the route, then maybe that may be a indication that maybe you've stepped out of a place of surrenders. Have you gone from being sure to feeling confused or feeling conflicted? That may also be a sign that maybe you have stepped over into a place where you are not truly surrendered. And so that is this morning's daily manna. As always, if this has blessed you, can you just tell God thank you? Following God will always be the way to living our most blessed lives, our most prosperous lives, our most favored lives, our most joy filled lives. And so be sure that even when you find yourself in a place where you're not really surrendered, that you are working effortlessly to get back into a place of surrenderance. And I'm going to say this: the only real way to surrender is to obey. Whew. Ooh, I'm going to say it again. The only real way to surrender is to obey. I'm going to say it one more time. The only real way to surrender is to obey. So if you say, T, I'm out of alignment, follow him, surrender. This morning was a morning where I thought that I should do a certain thing and God said surrender. And I knew that in that moment, what it meant was follow me. Even if following me, diverts you from your original plan, follow me and trust me. And so that is this morning's word. Please be sure that you guys are hitting that thumbs up button. I love y'all. If ain't nobody told you that, I am rooting for you guys. To those of y'all that feel led to sow, you can just let God lead you. Whether you sow in 10, whether you sow in 20, whatever you feel led to sow is what you should indeed sow. I love y'all though. I'm rooting for you guys. I'm about to shift over to TikTok in a few minutes. And so if you would like to join us over on TikTok, I encourage you to. ThoughtsbyT is the name. And so that is it. The ways to sow are in the description of every single video. If you need to book a one-on-one call with me, you can do so. The sessions are discounted. They're $35. And so if you would like that one-on-one time with me, even if it's not about, I'll even say whatever it's about, however you feel like you need help getting unstuck, that's what the sessions are designed to do. And so thoughtsbyt.com is the way to do so. The ways to sow are right there. I love y'all though. I'm rooting for you guys. And so until next time, y'all. Peace.